I don't have any money to go to Singapore. But I think I do talk about some, most of the ones I talk about are dead. I think it's a lot better to talk about dead relatives than living ones. But I think the reason the living ones don't complain is that they know that I know much more than I could write about them. Traveling like I did while I was doing all this, I'm the president of the College Store Association of North Carolina. I manage a college bookstore, so I love book people. And I'm the president of the national organization this year, so I've traveled a lot and eaten in a lot of places, fancy places, unfancy places. And it's getting better now. We're making infiltrations into the north with our sweet tea. But it still bothers me. I blame the fact that now in the South we have to designate whether we want sweet tea or not. I blame that on the Yankee invasion. When I was growing up, it was assumed that all tea was sweet. I mean, that was just assumed. And only diabetics would ask for unsweet tea. So I just made a big deal out about that, and everybody teased me about it. So I wrote a chapter in the book called Alas, Sweet Tea, I Knew Thee Well. So I'll finish with this chapter, and we'll have some questions or whatever. When I was growing up in the South, asking for a glass of tea at a restaurant meant the server would bring you a big glass of sweetened iced tea. It was assumed that the tea would be sweet and iced. If you wanted unsweetened tea, you had to ask for it specifically, and then you got some strange looks. And hot tea, forget it. I did not know one single person who ever drank hot tea, and if anyone had dared ask for it, they would have been put on the southernmost wanted list of weird and dangerous lunatics. Hot tea was the drink of Yankees and other foreigners. Once while in college, I was on tour with the college choir, and we sang in Detroit, Michigan. We stayed overnight with various families in the churches where we performed. My choir partner and I were assigned to a very nice family that lived in a row house that bordered on the wrong side of town. This in itself was quite an adventure for me. That night after dinner, the lady of the house offered us something to drink. Naturally, I said, "I'll have some tea, thank you." And she promptly brought me a cup of steaming hot tea. No sugar, no lemon, no ice, just hot, steaming tea. When she asked if I wanted cream, I think I went into some sort of shock. I said no to everything and proceeded to take a sip of my cup of tea. It was bitter and scalding hot. That's when I realized just how unworldly I truly was. There are places in the world that drink hot tea as casually as I drink iced tea. Places with exotic names and customs like Brooklyn or Newark. I determined right then to experience all the things that have heretofore eluded me by growing up in the South. My journey led me to discover that not all people in the United States eat grits. In fact, outside of the South, no one had even heard of grits. A girl from New York once asked me what a grit looked like. It took me hours to explain this concept to her. A former boss from Philadelphia who had moved to my town complained constantly about the abundance of grits at every breakfast restaurant. "They have no taste of their own," he growled. "If you put butter on them, they taste like butter. If you put salt on them, they taste like salt. If you put pepper, they taste like pepper. There should not be a food that has no distinctive taste of its own." The problem with him was that he was tasting grits with Yankee taste buds, and they had not been grown to appreciate the smooth, delicate taste of grits. He finally moved to South Dakota, where grits will not torment him. I was sitting in the dining hall of a college where I worked when a psychology professor from a state in New England famous for its lobster industry walked up and attempted to strike up a conversation. During our little visit, the professor turned the talk towards Southern cuisine. She was totally disgusted with the food in our area and went on sort of a mini tirade about our lack of culinary sophistication. Any group of people who would eat grits, collard greens, and liver pudding obviously has been inbred with their cousins and have deformed palates. It's just gross. This was a challenge that one of my friends could not let pass. She looked directly at this professor and said, "Well, I guess weans can't be as cultured as you. Now let me see. You're from Maine, right? I guess eating giant bugs that crawl on the bottom of the ocean floor eating whale poop makes a lot more sense than eating grits." The professor turned as red as the lobster my friend was referring to and gently left the table. Oddly enough, I became good friends with this professor, but I never went out to eat with her. Nan Graham is a wonderful Southern writer who's an expert on sweet tea. She can always tell you where you can find the best tea in town. According to Nan, the best sweet tea in Wilmington, North Carolina can be found at the Chinese restaurant. At first I thought this was rather odd. What can the Chinese possibly know about Southern sweet tea? Then I realized, well, the Chinese invented tea, didn't they? And have been enjoying it for centuries. That sent me on a quest to find the best sweet tea in the town where I work. It's true. The best sweet tea in Wingate, North Carolina is at the Chinese restaurant. Go figure. Several years ago, I had a visit from my dear friend from Philadelphia, Kathy Grace. She and her sister were in my part of the country shopping and visiting antique stores. She called and we arranged for them to stop by and then go out to dinner. Melvin and I, who's standing right there, took them to one of our favorite local restaurants located in a restored pre-Civil War house. Our town is small, but we have 4 colleges in the city limits. They draw students from all over the country, so that during the school year our town is pretty diverse. Our waitress at this restaurant was a college student who most definitely did not grow up in the South. Melvin ordered sweet tea, but the waitress could not understand him. He tried 3 times to tell her he wanted sweet tea, but to no avail. Finally, my friend Kathy, the Philly girl, interprets for us and manages to get the waitress to understand. Now, this restaurant is exactly 1 block from the giant monument to our fallen Confederate soldiers. I thought it was the metaphorical equivalent to Sherman's burning of Atlanta, to have a girl from Philadelphia interpret an order for sweet tea in the shadow of a Confederate historical monument. With everyone trying to be so health conscious these days, most restaurants are abandoning the good old soul food that was so prevalent in the South. Gone are collard greens cooked in pork fat, tea so sweet it would send you into a coma, fried fatback, pinto beans swimming in ham hock grease, and biscuits made with pure lard. These things will kill you, the experts say. I guess that's why both my grandmothers only lived to be 95 years old. Just think how long they might have lived if they'd given up all that nasty food. To us poor country folks, one of the only pleasures we got came from those wonderful family suppers. We didn't have any money to spend on cruises to the Caribbean or luxury weekends at the coast or evenings at the theater or trips around the world. Our joy came when our extended family would gather around a table filled with cornbread, collard greens, fried chicken, mashed potatoes and gravy, biscuits, macaroni and cheese, fatback, and gallons of sweet tea. So, as long as I am able to remember those dishes and how my mother and grandmother made them, I will continue to enjoy all that deadly food with which the nutritionists say is sending me to my grave. It seems odd to me that people parade by a casket and say, "My, but doesn't he look good?" What do I care how I look then? I'll be dead. I had rather them say, "See that extra chin? You can blame that directly on too much sweet tea."